It's been nearly a year since the very iconic Anti-Wave has been shut down due to copyright issues, and a lot of things have happened since then. A lot of people have come to tell me that they aren't actually offline not knowing what a fake website is. I thought it would be good to step aside from it and really look at what is going on with anime, especially in the United States. A lot of things have changed since the Anti-Wave shutdown. We've had a new administration that's taken power in the country, AI is only getting stronger, and a few months have passed. Obviously, the things I'm going to talk about in this video aren't really related to Japan, more or less, but I'm an American, and this channel is largely watched by Americans, and of course, anime at large has a somewhat, at least the vocal part of the community has a very conservative fan base, and I think it would help them to know how their vote may be impacting their favorite hobby. Following the Anti-Wave shutdown, things really haven't slowed down on the anti-piracy front. Not only are they getting increasingly threatening about it in Japan, but they're also reaching into the US to crack down on it. I keep track of legal filings from production companies. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to see those. And time again, we get subpoena requests from places like Toei or Shueisha to crack down on Twitter leakers and like manga piracy sites in general. And now recently, or I guess more like in 2023, a Texan ISP, Grand Communication Networks, was sued by a litany of record companies, including but not limited to UMG Recordings, Capitol Records, Warner Bros. Records, and most importantly, Sony Music Entertainment, obviously owned by Sony Entertainment, which owns anime production companies like Aniplex and distribution companies like Crunchyroll. The record companies claimed that by not terminating their customers' internet access when it was proven that they were committing copyright infringement, they were contributing to copyright infringement. Grand lost the case and was ordered by the court to pay $46 million in statutory damage because they wouldn't terminate connections. Grand's argument was that terminating internet connection in the modern era is a step too far. It's something that millions of people, especially post-pandemic, use to work. It's something millions of children use to access education. It's something that medical devices may be connected to, and that cutting off internet access is more than just not being able to pirate anymore. I've made my thoughts on piracy pretty well known at this point. I mean, it's basically the entire Anti-Wave video. I don't think it serves as a significant deal in most cases, and I agree that piracy is largely a service problem, which is why you don't see much music piracy in 2025 when Spotify is basically legal music piracy. But of course, I won't deny that some people will always pirate regardless, but they don't make up the majority. Frequent pirates, they try to talk about how there's no noticeable impact on sales, but to be frank, I just don't believe that. There's gotta be an impact on sales, just as there would be if you had to climb 20 flights of stairs to order at McDonald's. At some point, a genuine want for the product and then the convenience of that product are gonna meet a crossroads, and of course, McDonald's and art are different, though, because anime, movies, games, and so on are culture. I guess we're talking about America, so I guess McDonald's can be culture too. My opinion is that culture shouldn't be gatekept for those who can afford it. It shouldn't be gatekept by capital. But of course, some concessions must be made since we do live under capitalism, and I think it's correct and good to support indie artists, especially if you're in a situation like Spotify, which is basically legal piracy. And the artists get paid pennies on the dollar. In instances like that, you really should try and support artists and buy merch. And of course, these issues extend to companies like Crunchyroll, the primary method of legal anime consumption in the US, as they slowly consume the market and expand, and are now facing some serious competition from Netflix. However, when you're relying on pretty much just Crunchyroll as one of the main factors in piracy reduction, well, it's like telling an American you can get to the McDonald's, you just have to jump over the Looney Tunes lava spike trap. Like, yeah, you can, but I think at this point a lot of people don't like Crunchyroll as a company. And to be frank, they don't give you much reason to do so. A history of underpaying voice actors, like they paid the people on JJK0 $150 in total. A history of union busting their voice actors, like with Kyle McCarley and Mob Psycho. An ever-increasing subscription cost as people feel the service only gets worse. And as of a couple days ago, reports of them asking for lists of LGBT employees at their company, denying disability accommodations, and stealing fan mail and personal belongings. So yeah, when I say piracy is a service issue, I don't think people are jumping for joy to give Crunchyroll some money. There are also stories about Japanese production companies themselves being annoyed with how Crunchyroll advertises stuff, which that's a whole other topic. I criticize Crunchyroll all the time, but credit where it's due, they did finally walk back the AI integration plan that they had. Given their reputation, however, don't give them too many flowers. Wait and see how their stance changes with popular opinion in a couple years. Crunchyroll sucks, and its parent company is trying to get your internet shut off for streaming anime illegally. At least, we can still get our anime goods. Oh. Tariffs. Now, my info here is not my own research. It comes from Anime by the Numbers. As usual, link to everything I'm using in this video in the description, so thank you to them for compiling this info. At the time of uploading, since the tariff policy of Trump's changes like every hour, Japan has a 10% tariff, just like every nation besides, I think, China. According to data from Anime by the Numbers, the US has become the biggest individual revenue stream outside of Japan for anime, with more than half of Toei's revenue coming from overseas audiences. For those who don't know what a tariff is, like apparently the average US voter, it's just a tax on imports. So with a 10% tariff on Japan, anything coming from Japan to the United States will likely have a 10% markup, is the simplest way to describe it. If you buy a $100 figure, it's probably going to cost $110 because of the tax. A very quick and simple explanation there. Now, in terms of manga, due to legal precedents surrounding the First Amendment, they're largely exempt from tariffs since, taxing printed products could easily be used for censorship or restriction of information. Now, the astute observer might point out that we are living in an era where the current administration doesn't care about legal precedents, and this is valid, and it's something that even publishers are afraid of. Japan doesn't print these manga. They are largely printed from China, which would be subject to a 125% tariff. So, if this precedent is ignored, then a single volume of manga would be like $20. So, you start pirating manga because you're not paying $20. That's crazy. And then your internet gets cut because Sony told your ISP to shut your shit off. It's not looking good. What will not be exempt no matter what are things like Blu-rays or figures, general merchandise, and stuff like that. A vast majority of that stuff is made in China, and the rest, I think, from Vietnam. I could be wrong. So that is a large chunk of the merchandise you are having imported being significantly more expensive. So when you go to the library to maybe pick up the new Kagurabachi volume, it's going to be a lot more expensive. Well, that's assuming it's in a library to begin with. A lot of red states in particular are setting up draconian anti-First Amendment regulations to keep certain books out of libraries. It started with school libraries and people went, oh, it's just porn, as if that was in school libraries to begin with. Come on. And then the goalpost was shifted to, oh, well, maybe this manga just shouldn't be in libraries. As normal Shonen Jump manga were taken out of school libraries. I talk about this stuff in another video, but that's basically the rundown. Red states are taking the initiative on suppressing certain topics in books in school libraries, and a lot of that includes manga. Well, now it's in bookstores themselves, at least in Texas. A new bill that was introduced in Texas is aiming to crack down on nudity and explicit content in books. Just like the library bans, it uses a very vague, obscene descriptor to judge what should or shouldn't be carried. This is going to limit access to anime and manga because, well, let's be honest, alright? Some of that shit definitely falling within the purview of obscene, especially for evangelicals. Whether it should or shouldn't, it doesn't matter. Puritan Republicans will think it's obscene. The bill was introduced by Texas Rep. Nate Schatzlin, and if they get a report that someone found a book obscene, they could face lawsuits and fines from the state. If you want an example of what could be considered obscene, well, a school district in Texas removed the Virginia state flag because the Roman goddess Virtus has a breast hanging out, so that's interesting. The bill doesn't define obscenity by itself, but instead points to Penal Code Chapter 43, specifically, obscene material is anything that to the viewer has a patently offensive representation of sex or masturbation, possession or promotion of lewd visual material depicting children, so let's be honest, that's gonna be a lot of anime, okay? Your favorite weekly Shonen Jump manga, not making the cut, unless it's Kagurabachi, actually. From that perspective, they also point out literary, artistic, political, and scientific value, so if taken as a whole, if the product lacks that, then it's obscene. On its face, that might sound reasonable. Hey, we don't want to potentially expose minors to sexual content, and I'm sure those watching can see the line of thinking there. The issue is that in its application, it isn't targeting, like, porn in a library. It's targeting stuff like Handmaid's Tale, which I think a lot of people would agree does offer literary, artistic, and political value. Probably up there for one of the most influential books of all time, especially given how often it's targeted for censorship in this country. I also touched on this last year, but Tennessee was doing something similar, and it wasn't banning porn, it was banning Bleach volumes, Bloom Into You, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Promised Neverland, Tokyo Ghoul, manga I'm sure some of you have strong attachments to. And just today, the day I was going to record this video, a different bill that I wasn't even aware of from the Texas Senate was blocked by Texas House Democrats because it would have banned quite a lot of anime content. It aimed to, quote, create a new state offense for the possession or promotion of obscene material to depict a child younger than 18 years old, regardless of whether the depiction is of an actual child or an image created using an AI application or other computer software, end quote. Obviously, this is again one of those things that masks as protecting children. However, blanket bans and surface level definitions don't achieve much besides censoring art, and as this article points out, would have made it illegal to own things like Goblin Slayer. Now, you know, you can have your opinions about Goblin Slayer, maybe it's dog shit, I don't know. Probably shouldn't be illegal to own it. And of course, as usual, while working on this video, Trump did it again. He's now talking about, he hasn't done it yet, but talking about expanding the tariffs to foreign movies. How does that work? Nobody really seems to know, not even in the White House, as they say they're looking into it. I imagine Trump just said it, and now they have to find a way to execute it because he doesn't know what's going on. He's probably not all there anymore. Who's going to pay for these tariffs? The theaters, the distributors? How do you tariff something that can be easily copied or streamed? Adam Dietz, co-director of Castlevania, said that if it's a broad policy, it would decimate the 2D animation industry overnight, and it would kill American viewership, which would damage anime heavily. If you want my thoughts, I don't think he's actually going to do anything. I think this is just serving as another dead cat strategy, where you throw something outrageous that doesn't make any sense out on the table so that people don't pay attention to the fascism that you're doing. I have to imagine that even his closest advisors are like, dude, this doesn't make any fucking sense. He'll probably walk it back in a few days or weeks, saying that he made Hollywood great again, or maybe he'll just never talk about it again. Who knows? If you're an anime fan in the US, things are looking rough, man. AI is slowly creeping into the industry and beginning the enshittification of products. I don't know if you guys saw that AI dub. It was horrible.
Let alone Shiyao. Girls like handsome, charming studs like me.
In your dreams! You guys can forget about it. Only a Prince Charming deserves our Yao.
Tariffs are severely damaging the main method of supporting the creators, and red states are trying to do what they can to make sure you cannot access the material you want. That's all I wanted to talk about today, though, just to touch base about how things are going. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe for more. You can also check the description down below to become a member, which gives you benefits like early videos, membership badges, and cool custom emotes. You can join the Discord where we talk about ReZero, Kagurabachi, Jujutsu Kaisen, and all kind of stuff. Additionally, you can go to the channel store and pick up some awesome stickers made by our channel artist, so you can carry the power of Graphia with you on your water bottle. That's about it though. Thank you for watching. See ya.